Count on me through thick and thin, a friendship that will never.
No, please stop. Please stop. Please stop.
Now, I heard Melissa when I came on, and she's awesome. So I don't know about what you're giving me now, Javon. But Melissa sounds like she's safe.
Now, Javon, you have heard the woman of God. Okay. The answer is no, and don't ask her no more. Now.
Being reminded that this song was created to encourage people. This song was created to be a faith soundtrack for someone. So who am I to say, because I'm tired of singing this song every time I go out. This is one of the things that draws me to these places. This may have been the song that helped people to discover who I am. So
the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, peace and love.
Dr. C, so you're single.
Yes, I am.
And you're a single female pastor. You're very passionate, very powerful. Still single now, though. Is there something that you feel that needs to be adjusted in your life?
I was the young woman who believed waiting on God for marriage. All of that was ingrained into me. Okay. But as I got older, I started to realize that I can't stay in the house and expect God to send my husband to the door. Though I know God can, we know the Lord is able. Hallelujah.
I used to be a FedEx delivery man. Keep going as you were. Keep going.
Wait, I can't. So, but I had to understand that I had to be just like the story of Naomi and Ruth. Okay, there's no way Boaz would have seen her if she had not been out there in the field gleaning. So what I am saying is that being full of the Holy Ghost, you know, I'm trying to keep my body and my temple together and keep it consecrated. But I also understand that I have to put myself where I can be found.
Yes.
Because staying in the house just means I'm hidden.
Who keeps you laughing with all the jokes? It's JV. Who keeps it real around all your folks? It's JV. You've been looking and what do you know? Congrats, you tapped into the Vaughn show. Who keeps you laughing with all the jokes? It's JV. Who keeps it real around all your folks? It's JV. Another outlook will give you some hope. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the Vaughn show.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Vaughn show. I'm Vaughn, and it is a Wednesday night, and the NBA playoffs are going on right now. Miami Heat and Denver Nuggets. So the fact that I'm on the air right now lets you know just how important this next guest is. So what I need everybody to do is just pause the game, because if you're on Facebook, you're not really watching anyway. Pause the game. Ain't nothing happening. Miami's going to come back in the fourth quarter anyway. Doesn't matter. Pause the game and come on in and check out the guest that I have for you today. Ladies and gentlemen, I've got the bishop, and he's in the house. Good evening, Bishop Veron House. How are you doing, sir?
I'm good. Good evening, and thank you for having me on your show. Certainly appreciate it.
It is an honor, sir. The pleasure is 100% completely all mine. I am so grateful to have you on the show today. We're going to start off this interview like we start off every single interview that we do. The main question that we ask everybody that comes through the studio: who is Bishop Veron House?
Well, I am a man that believes in faith. I'm very big on faith. I am a father of 3 boys, and I have some godchildren. I am a senior pastor of a Life Church and CEO of businesses, entrepreneur. And most importantly, I am a man that practices and believes in self-power. I believe in self-power and power of the oneness, power of the mind. And Let me see what else. That's kind of who I am in brief. Yeah, that's about it.
So help me with that, Bishop, because I've always wanted to ask someone this, and that's why I was happy to have you on the show today. So is it the power of just believing that if you believe hard enough and that you just keep putting your mind to it, that it'll just happen for you because you believed it?
Well, it's a little more than that. Belief is more than just put your mind to it, because if it's just about your mind, then anyone can have it. So it's not just about your mind. Most people don't understand what faith is, and even most people go to church. Just because you have faith doesn't mean you're going to have everything you believe for. Because you can believe in it, but God doesn't want it for you, or it's not good for you. He said, no good thing will I withhold from them. So if he withhold it, that means it wasn't good for you. Faith is simply the conduit to God. In other words, faith is the vehicle that gets you to the belief in God can, God will. But it doesn't mean everything you put your faith to, he's going to actually manifest. It doesn't work like that. Faith is it's bigger than just belief, and just and people think that if I believe, it's going to happen. But let me say this: faith will always manifest something. It just might not get you what you think you ought to have, because the power of faith is it's going to happen. It may not happen the way you want. It may not be exactly what you want, but it will manifest. Faith has to manifest something. God can't hold it from you with faith. You just don't always get what you think you ought to have.
And see, that's the thing, because I think that by now, at 44, going on 49 in my head and 65 in my body, that I should have it by now, And this is why I was so excited to talk to you, because I was reading your bio, and I know where you come from. I did my research, and I'm like, oh, I cannot wait to talk to Bishop House, because I'm trying to figure out God. Trying to figure out, and listen, me and God have been rocking for 43 years, right? 44 years, 79. If I do the math, if I carry the one, for more than 40 years, me and God have been rocking. And so I know that there's going to be greatness, because I've been told that the greatness is coming ever since I was a little kid, right? Everybody, you guys got something for you ever since a kid, Bishop House. And now I went out on faith and said, okay, I'm going to quit my job, and I'm going to, because I believe that God wants me to focus my actual attention on bringing my skills and abilities and talents to life. And so that was in January, and now we're rocking at the beginning of June, and there have been some things, not a lot of things. So it's like, Bishop House, am I doing it wrong? Is my faith, am I working the exercise of faith incorrectly? And if so, what should I be doing differently?
No, you're working faith correctly. Faith is a risk. Here goes the thing. Peter steps out of a boat. He says, Lord, if that's you, bid me to come unto you. And then the voice, Jesus, of course, says, come unto me. He did something the other disciples didn't do. They were in the midst of a storm. The boat was getting ready to sink. Peter says, if it's you, bid me to come. He steps out and takes the risk. That's faith. Faith is risky, not knowing if he's going to drown or not, but he believes in faith. And here goes the powerful thing. Jesus looks at the other disciples and says, "O ye of little faith." People says he said it to Peter, but he did it. He said, "O ye is more than one." He looks at them and says, y'all have little faith. Peter has big faith, because Peter took a risk, and Peter did not drown. The point that I'm making here is, when you walk out and move out in faith, he'll never let you drown, because faith is the stimulus to who God is. Faith moves God. The Bible says without faith, it's impossible to please him. That's why you don't have to pray to please him. You can't jump through a hoop to please him. Wow. Dancing and shouting. Faith is what pleases him. And so Peter steps out, and he doesn't drown because he's in faith. And Jesus looks at the others and says, y'all should have did what Peter did. You don't look at the fact that he started sinking. He didn't drown. You will never drown in faith. Wow. Never, ever drown. Even, I found this out, even if you make a wrong decision at the wrong decision at the wrong time, faith he still won't let you drown, because faith moves him to do what he wouldn't do at that moment. It moves him like this. So there have been moments when I've moved in faith and it didn't make sense. It didn't look good, but he still didn't let me drown. Anyone who doesn't move in faith, you can drown, but in faith, you don't drown. Where does it make God look bad?
When did you establish your faith? Because you clearly have had to have gone through something or some things to get to this place to where you had this belief in this power in faith. Where does that come from for you?
To be honest with you, when I was 10 years old, I used to be afraid of thunderstorms and lightning. I was more afraid of the noise than I was the lightning. And I was in my grandmother's house. She lived on the 11th floor, and they said a tornado was coming, and we could see it out of her window. And I ran into the bathroom. This is no lie. I ran into the bathroom, and I started praying. I came back out and looked. The storm was still coming. I went back in the bathroom and prayed again. I came back out. I just said, I'm going to stand right here. And I started praying. I said, Lord, if you stop the storm, that's what I said. If you stop the storm, I'll obey my mother, my grandmother. I said, I'll obey my sister. I'm naming everybody I will obey. And my grandmother said, look, literally, the rain stopped and the sun started coming through the clouds. And it was in that moment, literally, it was in that moment that I believed that if I trust him, that whatever I say, he'll do it. My grandmother said to me, she said, you're going to have great faith. And so it was in that moment. And then throughout life, I've had experiences where I've tried faith. I've tested faith, and it's never failed. I promise you, it's never failed. I've done some of the craziest things. I remember the first time I went to Africa. I had one of my members paid for my ticket, and I had $700, and I was going to Africa. The Lord told me to go to Africa. I'd never been there. He told me to go to Africa, and I went to Africa. I got to the airport. I went through, and when I got to the airport, it was Entebbe Airport, and I was sitting there, and the Lord spoke to me and said, just sit. I didn't know anybody. He said, sit. I sat on my suitcase, and the airport was packed. People just walking past me. 3 hours went by. I'm still sitting there. 5 hours went by. I'm still sitting in the airport, and people, I mean, you can't even see. So many people just bumping each other. And finally, I got discouraged. We didn't have no cell phone. There was nobody I could call. And I said, did I hear the right voice? I said, God, I'm way in Africa. And I heard the Lord say to me, sit right here. Literally, I sat for 8 hours. A man I saw pass me, I don't know how many times. And he finally stops. This is what he says. I tell the story all the time. He stops and says to me, he says, you're a man of God? I said, yes, I am. He said, the Lord told me to come to the airport. There was a man of God here. That's what he said. A man of God was going to be here. He's going to come to the meeting. He had somebody cancel. I won't say it's a big name. They canceled. He said, I want you to come. God sent me here. I've been walking the airport looking for you. So he had his two men. They grabbed my suitcase. We're going out to this car. I don't know where they're taking me. We got into this car. He said, I want you to preach tonight. The people are waiting. He said, I have a small church. You preach tonight. Got there, we went down this bumpy hill. I'll never forget it. It was bumpy as I can't tell you. And when we hit this bend, I saw these big lights, and I saw the back of a stage. Get to there, military man open up my door, and I'm walking up on the stage. And when it gets me on the stage, there were so many people I couldn't see. I said to the young man, I said, how many people is here? He said, 80,000 people. I looked at the pastor and I said, I thought you said it was a small church. He said, yes, it's not everybody. That was it. And he gave me the mic. He said, I never heard of him. That's what he said. He said, but everybody know who canceled. He said, but God told me the man of God is at the airport. And I preached. And so it'd be the 7 days. It turned out 14 days. I stayed there. 14 days, I said. I went with $700. I left that meeting with $17,000. And from that moment, you couldn't tell me nothing about faith.
Can I borrow a plane ticket? Because I've got someplace to go. So this, okay. So when you had no fear once 7.5 hours came?
I was nervous. But I was confident in what I heard, and I believed that I heard God. I questioned it, not because I was sitting for hours. I started hearing people in my mind saying that I told you crazy. God would never send you to Africa like that, way to another country you'd never been to. And I got like Peter. I started listening and looking. And I heard the Lord again say, sit here. And that second sit, I was confident that somewhere along the line, in my mind, I was thinking he's going to tell me to get up and he's going to send me somewhere to go. But he spoke to the man of God because a big name canceled. And the Lord spoke to him and said, the next speaker is at the airport. He walked for 3. I watched him pass me for like 2 hours. He passed me 2 or 3 hours. He just passed me, just scratching his head. And finally, he just stopped. So I really didn't have to sit that long, but he hadn't heard God say, that's the man.
When you got to the venue and you see that there's just seas of people there, did you immediately know what words you were going to bring at that time?
No, I didn't know. When I opened up my mouth, I said, shout hallelujah. And when I said, shout hallelujah, I heard Lord say these words to me. He said, tell the people the praise is your weapon. And that's what I preach. My praise is my weapon. And that's what I preach. I told him, if you keep praising, I said, there's moments when we do spiritual warfare. I said, and you all know that well. I said, but the Lord said, in this season, just use your praise. And it was pandemonium. And every night I preached, actually I preached 4 times a day, all day, 110, 95 degrees weather, 99. I preached 4 times a day for 14 days, straight. No break at all.
No praise team to buff.
Oh, that praise. Oh yeah, the praise team. I mean, they would sing 3, 4, 5 hours easy. Yeah, they would just sing and sing. And then when it got to a certain point, they had dancers and everything. And then he would look at me and he said, "Prophet," he said, "You ready?" And I would say, "No." He'd tell me to keep singing. And he said, "You ready?" I said, "I'm ready." And he just hand me the mic and I just go. Yeah.
So, have you made Africa a yearly trip?
Actually, funny thing about it, I moved to Africa years ago and I lived there for 2 years. Yeah. I lived there for 2 years.
And what brought you back?
God. Yeah, that's the only thing that brought me back was God. My assignment was complete. And I got what I needed to get there. He didn't just send me there to be an assignment to other people. People were assignment to me. And they poured out of me things I didn't know was in me and showed me biblical context from the original culture. And it opened my understanding and expanded my consciousness in ways that I still teach today.
So tell me this, what are some things that you've had to turn away from because of faith?
I have, I'm gonna give you an example. I started a church in 2001 in Syracuse, New York. I remember probably 2 years after that, we probably had about 500 or 600 members or more. And the Lord spoke to me about preaching on faith. And I said, for the next 3 months, I'm going to do nothing but preach on faith. And I said, anyone who don't want to hear about faith, you can leave. Well, the next Sunday, 132 people left the church. Big tithers, because they said they weren't finna sit there. They said, you turn into some of these faith preachers, these prosperity preachers. And so I lost a lot of people. The tithe and offering went down significantly, but then it went up and God showed up. So faith will cost you relationships when you hear something that no one else can see. And I've lived my life like that. I've heard things no one else could see. And secondly, I can't explain what I'm seeing. Not that I don't know sometimes. It's just that trying to explain doesn't make it better. It makes it worse. Because unless God opens up their eyes to see and their ears to hear, to understand, they're not going to understand it. And so I've made a lot of faith moves and faith risks throughout the years. I live by faith. Everything I do, I move by faith. And when I say that, most people don't live by faith. They live by what they see. In order to live by faith, that means you have to constantly stretch yourself and constantly be taking risk. So if you're a millionaire, go buy something worth $10 million. If you got $1 million in the bank, believe God for 10 million. That's taking a risk. And that's what faith is. Because if the scripture says without faith, it's impossible to please him. As long as I'm in faith, I'm pleasing him, and he's going to move for you. That's why there's a difference between someone who doubts and one who has faith. Somebody who has faith is going to always have more than you. The favor is going to be greater on them. They can walk through a door and have uncommon favor, and you've been there 20 years, and they'll become the Joseph, because faith moves them. He'll move mountains for you when you have faith.
I was, and you may be looking at my face like, why is he looking like this? This is my faith face. And my faith face comes from me having been in a faith journey since January 6th. That's January 6th is when I left the job. And since that day, it has been me walking and trying to accomplish what I believe was set for me to accomplish. And for feeling like I'm sitting at sitting at an airport, waiting on God's blessing to finally take over. So then I enter, and everything's been like a test of faith, it feels like. And so from, the clients coming through for the business that I'm doing, and then coming and going, and for opportunities coming and going, and for promises coming and being broken, and still saying, I'm going to stay on this faith journey. And then the people saying, you shouldn't quit that job. Yeah, I told you, I don't know why you did that job. You had a good job. Boy, you had a real good job. And you quit that job. So what were you doing? And I'm like, well, I just truly believe that God told me to. And so when at the end of this month, I moved out of my lease. And so I've got like a month and a half before I can get to the new place. So I'm kind of in this in between season right now. And all these opportunities are here, but they are delayed for whatever reason. For many different reasons, things have been delayed. And then right when the faith was starting to build up, things then got delayed further. And I feel like the 7.5 hour mark at the airport. So while I'm sitting here and I'm listening to you, it's giving me that reminder that you could be right there. And if you give up, then you miss that moment that was right there that was going to take you to that next level. So Bishop, that's why I'm just sitting here like, wow, he's just telling all of my business and don't even know me. Just getting it all out there to the people. So what I have to ask you then, and I am the king of segue, is that because I believe that the better is coming, what position do I need to be in? How do I place myself in a place to where I can make sure that I am better before my bigger comes?
You're doing it right now. You're in it right now. Being better before you become bigger is looking at yourself first, being accountable, not just to what you do, what you say, what you think, where you go. The better part of you is happening. You just haven't tapped in to recognize that it's happening. And sometimes in this vein that you're talking about, to kind of piggyback on it, God wants you to trust him. I was working for an oil company, and I was the manager. And the Lord spoke to me, textile oil, and he spoke to me and said, today, I want you to quit your job and go full-time ministry. And I said, what? And I wasn't moving fast enough. And he said to me, if you don't quit, I'm going to make them fire you. I said, what? Well, long story short, one of the girls that was underneath me came to me and said, they're having a meeting about letting you go. I said, what? She said, yeah, they're in a meeting right now. So I ran to the conference room, knocked on the door, and I walked in and I said, hey, I said, I don't mean to interrupt. And my boss said, hold on, we're in the meeting. It's the vice president. I said, I want to tell you all something. I want to thank you for the opportunity. I'm just going. And I said, but today I'm resigning. And it was 7 people, and they looked at me like I was crazy. And I said, so thank y'all very much. You know, I typed a real letter and I left. Well, long story short, I didn't get a job right away. Nothing came in invitation wise. Nobody was calling me and said to preach like consistently. And one day I said to God, God, maybe I missed you. And he spoke to me, and this is what he said to me. He said, even if you made the wrong choice, you're in faith. I'm going to make it work for you. Wow. And I got a call to go to North Carolina. And they said, if you can get here, we'll take care of the rest. I had a black Chevy in Paul, I think it was. And I drove with North Carolina. They put me in a motel, not a hotel. It was in a motel. And the pastor said to me, he said, just preach for the week. Don't worry about nothing. I said, oh, man, I got bills to pay. I got rent. You know, I got a small son. I said, well, I got a wife. What am I going to do? And the end of the meeting, he said, whatever is raised, just put it in an envelope. And he handed it to me. He said, I ain't going to count it. Whatever it is what it is. That's what he said. Whatever it is what it is. He said, if it ain't what you want, just call me back. I got to the motel. I started counting the money. I was up to about $6,000. I stopped. I called him and I said, Pastor Wright, I said, I think there's a mistake. He said, what's the mistake? I said, it's 6,000 in here. He said, is that not good enough? He said, you want more? He said, I tell you. I said, no. And he hung up. He came to the hotel and he brought $1,000 more. I said, no, I was trying to tell you, I don't know if y'all meant for me to have this much. And God spoke to me driving back. And he said, if you trust me, I'll do this and more. Sometimes the waiting is not the delay. It is God wanting you to see if you really trust him, because to trust him is to rely on him. And to trust him is an attitude, because when you trust him, your verbiage is different. Your perspective is different. When you trust him, you're still living. You're still smiling. You're still moving about. You're not questioning back and forth. You're not doubting. When you trust him, you're saying, no matter what it looks like, I'm going to trust God. Yeah.
I'm trying not to have you on my show for 2 hours, Bishop House. I'm trying real hard because this ain't about me. But I'm hoping that this conversation is helping people who may have gone through what you're going through. And hopefully this conversation is helping them as much as it's helping me, because you are blessing my entire life right now. So what was it like for the family then? Because I heard you mention that, you have the young son and you have your wife. Were there moments where you said, God, listen, I got to look out for them. I mean, I know this faith is more than about me, so let me focus on them and do something else while you're preparing these blessings that you have for me?
Actually, no. I just totally trusted them. And I'm gonna tell you this because I've shared this. That was a good moment. It got enough for us to switch and move into another apartment, et cetera, et cetera. But then a drought hit, and we found ourselves. It wasn't that I owed any rent, but the owner went up on the rent, and I said I wasn't paying it. Found ourselves living. This is no lie. We were living in our car. Nobody knew it. We were living in our car, and we would sleep at the rest stop, go change, and get washed up in the rest stop. And that went on for over 30 days, and nobody knew. And it was the second month, but God spoke to me. I was crying in the car, and he said, "Why are you crying?" I said, "Because I failed my family." He said, "But you pleased me." And that moment, I went to my grandmother's house. She said, "I've been trying to reach you." She said, "Bishop so-and-so," he did not. "Bishop so-and-so, I've been trying to reach you." He said, "He wants you to come do a 2-week revival." I went and ran the 2-week revival. He called 4 of the preachers. I ended up in 3 different states, and it just kept going. And from that moment, For several years, I preached at 80 churches every single year. God never let me look back. Yeah, I just trusted him.
Do you ever feel that we are past the drought periods? Like, Lord, listen, I've already proven my faith. I've been with you with 30 days in rest stops with my family. I've proven that I can do the faith part. Can we end these seasons of drought?
Well, it's like this. Faith has different levels, and depending on the height that you're going determines the fact that he needs to increase the frequency of your faith. Our faith has a frequency that has to be increased in different seasons. See, the faith you had 5 years ago or 2 years ago is not the same faith that you're going to be able to use in the next season of your life, because it demands a different level and frequency of faith. So now he has to increase the frequency. The measure of your faith has to increase, because he's getting ready to give you something greater than you had before, do something bigger than he did before, open a bigger door than he opened before, make a way that he's going to create a way. So he increases the frequency of your faith. And he has to, watch this, he has to cause you to challenge your self-faith, or your faith self. What I mean by that is, the faith that you had yesterday does not help you for the door tomorrow, because it's bigger. So now you got to apply greater faith. So you're going to have those moments like, God, you want more faith? Well, it's not that I want more faith. I want you to stretch yourself, and it's going to hurt. There's no way a rubber band can be expanded if it was human and not feel it. Faith, you're going to feel it, because when he's stretching you, you're going to feel it. And the power of faith, I can't keep saying that. The power of faith is you pleasing God. And there's nothing that moves him but faith. See, you can pray. I tell people all the time, prayer without faith is just conversations to a wall. Praising without faith is just noise. Giving an offering without faith is a wasted seed, because all of that takes faith. Without faith, your praise don't please him. Your worship doesn't please him. Your money doesn't please him. Praying 7 days a week and fasting for 3 weeks, that don't do nothing. It's the faith that moves God. God is moved by faith, because faith is the only thing that allows you to believe in him that you have not seen, and allows him to let you see him in manifestation. Because we've never seen God in the physical, but you've seen God. Let me say that again. You haven't seen God in the physical, but you've seen God. How? When he opened up that door, you've seen him. When he made the connection, you've seen him. When he paid your rent, you've seen him. When he healed your body, you've seen him. When he gave you the new job, you've seen him. When he expanded your business, you've seen him. You see him by the manifestations, and the manifestation is only seen by believing in what you cannot see until you see it. Yeah, that's faith. And people say faith is blind. No. Faith is not blind, because when you have faith, that's when you see. When you doubt, you're blind. When you have faith, that's what you see. You're able to see with faith. You're blind when you doubt. Faith people can see. They're not blind. Once you have faith, he opens your eyes to see. You see what you couldn't see before. You get it. You understand it. Faith that's the source.
Journalist House Holly said that faith is power. I'm going to go a deeper level and say faith can also be peace.
Absolutely.
How did you find your final level or your current level of peace? Because I've heard that your peace is non-negotiable. So, and we're going to bring that up in a second, but how did you find your your peace within your faith?
I found my peace in chaos. I learned to stay calm in chaotic moments. I learned to stay calm. This is true. I learned to stay calm in chaotic moments. I use the chaotic moments, chaotic people, chaotic situations, even chaotic emotions. I learned to stay calm because I learned that how you respond determines when God moves. Yeah. So I learned it in chaos. You can't try your peace when everything's good. You have to try your peace when everything looks bad, when it's going bad, when it is bad, when it's worse, and you still maintain a level of calmness. My antidote, to be honest, the secret to my peace is meditation. I am big on meditation. And that is how I master calmness. I stay calm in situations. You can't pull me out of my character to do what you do, to act like you act, to respond to you. But it's the chaos. And you'll never know if you have peace until God allows chaos to enter your life. And if you respond with the same energy as the chaos, you haven't embraced peace, because peace is there. We just don't embrace it.
It's there. And like I said earlier, it's non-negotiable. You got a clothing line. Yes. Tell us the inspiration behind the clothing line. What put you into a mind frame of saying, you know what, people need to start wearing my clothes?
That happened recently. My peace is non-negotiable. And I said that because there was instance in my life recently over the past 2 year where my peace was challenged, and I felt my mind slipping. I felt like I was going to lose my mind. I was having suicidal thoughts, to be honest with you, man. I was having suicidal thoughts because I said, God, why is this happening to me? And I was being silent and I was being quiet, and it seemed like the more quieter I've been the worse it got. And the Lord spoke to me and says, your peace needs to be non-negotiable, because I was just about to sell my peace. I was getting ready to respond. I was getting ready to lash back out. I was getting ready to give the same energy. And the Lord spoke to me and said, your peace has to be non-negotiable. In other words, don't you sell your peace for nothing. Don't let nothing cause you to sell your peace, because your peace is your sanity. Without your peace, you have no sanity. But I felt like my silence was ruining my life. And the Lord said, no. There's safety in peace. Yeah, I found safety in peace. And it's non-negotiable. You have to always choose peace over chaos, no matter what it is, no matter who it is. Do not allow the chaos to take your peace. It's a mindset, first of all. It's a mindset. Peace has to be embraced in your mind. I will give you peace that surpasses all understanding. That's your mind. See, if you don't manage it in your mind, then you don't have peace, because peace is not spiritual, it's mental.
For people who watch the Javon show, they know that it takes a whole lot to get me to shut up and listen. And I have been shutting up and listening this entire interview because you have blessed me today, Bishop House. These words, these nuggets that you dropped, they were much needed in the season that I'm in right now. So I appreciate you. I appreciate your word that you're providing for me and this audience. For those who want to know more about you, to hear more from you, how do they get in touch with you?
You can watch me on Instagram at t.Veron, Veron House. Of course, Facebook, Veron House. And those are the platforms I'm normally on. We do come on YouTube on Sunday, Tuesdays, and then my podcast that I do called The Dialogue on Mondays. But that's the ways to reach out to me.
So you're my competition. Tell me about this podcast. No. Let me know who I need to come in and look at.
No, I started this in March. It's something I've been saying I was going to do for over 5 years. It's called The Dialogue. It is a conversation. Most people don't know. Most people don't have dialogues. They have arguments. An argument means somebody has to win. A dialogue is where we can agree to disagree. So I started the dialogue for the necessary conversations that people can't have in pulpits, because sometimes preachers drive certain things in their message that shouldn't be in a pulpit. And so the dialogue is a conversation, having necessary conversations where we can agree to disagree. That's the other one part of the dialogue. The other part of the dialogue is not only can we agree to disagree, but we're looking just to understand each other. I don't have to believe what you believe. I'm not trying to change your mindset. When I leave from that dialogue, I'm leaving with an understanding of what you believe, your posture, whatever it is, but I respect it. And so that is what the dialogue is. It is the necessary conversation where we can agree to disagree, but yet leave understanding each other's positions.
What was one of the latest dialogues you had?
The latest dialogue I just had was I can cancel you. And I talked about also is receipts the new blackmail? Because we live in this cancel culture world. And I was dealing with people who can, they say, I can cancel you. I have the power to cancel you. Some people being canceled for reasons that make no sense because you don't believe in, and I brought in about the thing about Dietrich, and I said what happened with him and him dancing on his 50th birthday party with his wife. And I love Dietrich. And I said, I watched some of the comments and I said, these people are amazing. You want to cancel him because you don't like the fact that he danced with his wife and he's a pastor and quote unquote a Christian. Guess what? Why can't you just disagree without trying to cancel and ruin somebody, stop someone's career, stop their money and all of those things? So this spirit of I can cancel you is wrong, and it needs to be stopped. And then people have receipts. I'm so sick of people saying, and I hear this all the time from people and preachers. I've heard preachers say this. He gonna let me come preach because I got a receipt on him, and he gonna let me come preach because I know what he did last year. I know who he's sleeping with. So what? So that's a form of blackmail, and they call it receipts now. But all that is, I'm right there at 50. That's a form of blackmail. So that's what we called it, blackmail. But blackmail was not the same as it was where you tell somebody, give me money. Now it's let me come preach, let me come sing, let me have a space in your business, let me have ownership in your business, because you're holding these receipts, these text messages, these videos, whatever it is. And now you're saying, I got this on you. And then they're saying, well, I got this on you. And so all of that, we had that necessary conversation that the receipts is really just a form of blackmail. And everybody's swapping about what they know. I know who this, I know what man is sleeping with what man. All of that, there's a term you say, MYOB. Nobody does that no more. Mind your own business. If you don't agree with somebody, keep it to yourself. But we got to get out of this cancel culture because people don't think, they don't care how it affects someone else's life, their children, their families. It's disgusting. So that was the conversation.
I look forward to them bringing out the receipts they have on me, Bishop. I'm just not even gonna lie to you. I'm proud of the foolishness that I did in my past. So if you got the video, please, because I want to reflect on some of them moments and see if I could do it better the next time. Because I promise you this, and you know what, you're gonna watch this a year from now. We're gonna reset this and we're gonna bring it back out again, and we're gonna have another interview, another dialogue when I get invited to your show. And I better get invited because you know what I know, Bishop.
I'm going.
But I say this to say that when I tell you that when I get big and when this show blows up and people want to start bringing out the stuff that from high school and college and from the first year after my divorce, oh my God, please. I hope you have pictures. I hope it's in 4K, the video. I hope you have listen, don't edit now. I want to see the video. Because I know the foolishness that I did, and my knees don't do that no more. I'm not kicking as high as I used to. So I look forward to seeing the video and the pictures. Bring out the receipts is all I'm saying. Bring out the receipts. Proud of them receipts. Bishop, I'm so thankful for you.
Thank you.
I had to get in my silliness because we did 40 minutes. I didn't give you no silly. So I had to give you a little bit of silly. But I look forward to learning and hearing more from you. If you need me to come preach, I only know one sermon, and that's on Balaam. We can talk to Lori about my Balaam sermon later. I only know the one.
Only the one.
Well, Oh, I preached that Balaam sermon.
Noah preached the same sermon for over 500 years, so it's okay.
It's real good. Lori she's saying OMG because she's heard my Balaam sermon before, and just let it be no. Fine, Lori.
She said no.
Great. But I look forward to your ministry and growing and hearing more from you, ladies and gentlemen. He has a book. He has
please get the book.
Please get the book, and we're gonna make sure that everybody see the picture of the book and everything when we do the edit. But we want to make sure that y'all go and get the book, that y'all go support the product line, that y'all when he comes through your town, that you come and that you give a real good offering too, because he might be able to keep it that day. So make sure y'all offer him up real good. But Bishop, any last words before we go? Anything that you want to leave with the people?
No, just listen. Thank you for having me on. We just launched today our T-shirt. My piece is non-negotiable. We have the sweaters and the T-shirt just dropped today. So we have the T-shirts as well. My piece is non-negotiable. And I'll leave with this, there is power in change. And until you change the way you think, you haven't changed your life. You have to change the way you think. And if you change that, everything else falls in line.
Amen. I'm looking forward to the change. I'm trying to tell y'all better enjoy now, because I'm going to be so ridiculous the bigger that I get, and that's why I'm trying to be better, because I'm about to be bigger. And
that's it.
And my piece is going to be non-negotiable. See, I just hooked all of that up.
You worked it all in there. See that? You got another sermon.
Nope, we're going to go back to Balaam. We're still staying on Balaam. Still staying on Balaam. Bishop House, thank you so much, sir. To everybody, Dr. Anisha Thompson and Elevate Magazine, to Dr. T.L. Holmes, our executive producer, to everybody watching, thank y'all for tuning in tonight. Now y'all can go back to that basketball game. Love y'all. Be good to yourselves and each other.
Get a little bit crazy. Let's get a little bit crazy.
All right, Bishop, thank you so much.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.